Hey everybody, back with another video. I got my GORF set, my spare, that's partially working, minus one of the customs there. And semi-owned klov, gentleman named Scott, sent me this board set to do some testing on, and if I can fix it, I'll fix it. But it could be a bad custom, not sure. Don't know where this is going to go, but I'm going to film it in case there's something interesting. So first thing I'm going to do is probably power up his entire board set and see what it does, if anything. Alright, this is what he said he did. Hey Jack Lick, thanks again. Here's what I've done on the GORF. Changed all the capacitors, the tantalums, cleaned some chips, and soldered one of the ROM chips, X1, and that's why the ROM board will only fit in this front slot here, because this first socket here sticks out too far to fit anywhere else. So I'm just going to plug it in and let's see what happens. Alright, here we go. Nothing. Blank screen. Nothing's coming on. So we'll go ahead and power that off. Got the video hooked up correct. So what we'll do now is I'll test his ROM board in my working set and his RAM boards probably first. So we'll do some board testing just to figure out what's going on. Could be, and then I'll come back and test it in his. Alright, his ROM board, and guess what? It's not that exciting, just swapping boards, but honestly it's the most effective or quickest way to make progress on these. I'm not going to try to, troubleshoot it in a crazy way. Nothing on the screen, so his ROM board is most likely not working, and it could be this first ROM here. Let's check to see if they're all in the right way. They are. Let me put my ROM board back in, double check, and I'll put my ROM board in his board set. Alright, my ROM board and his board set. Let's see if we get any further. Nothing. So we got more than just that one problem. So let me do some more card swapping and identify which cards. I'll do that off camera. Alright, his two RAM boards, and this is what you get. So obviously one of these RAM boards has a problem, and I might just go ahead and use my RAM test cards for this, or we could use Mark Space, probably test ROM maybe. We'll see. Alright, I thought I had filmed putting these together, these test boards and stuff, but maybe I didn't. I did a video of fixing a pattern board using them. These are reproduction Midway card rack test cards from Arcade Jason, and I don't believe he has them anymore, but I got this idea from Sam's Arcade, and this is a RAM board test, and then this is their pattern board test, and test ROMs and stuff. But basically the first thing you have to do, and I had to, since I didn't make a video of it, I had to read the directions, is you want to remove your game board PCB. That's the game board PCB. And then we're going to remove the RAM board out of J2. Like that. We're going to remove our ROM board, because we're going to use the test ROMs. And we're going to remove our pattern board. And that just leaves the CPU board. You can see my CPU board has a heatsink on that main custom right there. And then we're going to put this in to J4 so that there's room for this connector here, obviously. Oops, I don't have it in right. I have this little thing wired up here to change the test ROMs without swapping them. And then we're going to put this in. This is a Ram board tester. Like that. Hook up our RGB. Just like that. And I'm going to lay it down. Put one of our RAM boards from our test situation in here. Like that. Your dip switches on this need to be one's down, all odds are down, all evens are up. So 2, 4, 6, 8 are on, 1, 3, 5, 7 are off. And then I'll kill this light here. Power on. Do I have everything right? I guess I don't have everything right. Let's see. What did I miss? Got my RAM board in, got my CPU board, got this. Maybe I need to hit my reset button. Alright, there we go. And there's what we get. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 bad RAM chips on this RAM board right here. That is crazy. But it makes it very easy to figure out which ones are bad. So I'm going to mark those and then come back. Alright, this is the second RAM card. And it just has one bad RAM. Should be that one right there. So I'll mark that one. So that's not, this RAM card's closer, so I'm going to get this one working. I might not have enough RAM to do the other one, but I'll fix this one. Alright, socketed that RAM chip, replaced 4027. Got that on. Let's see if I can find the reset button. And it looks good. No flashing. Move it to position 2. Hit this reset button here. We get our rainbow colors. And that looks good. So that RAM card is good now. And I will put like a green check mark on it or something. Okay, so I switched my ROMs so it reads the test pattern ROMs, and moved my test card to J6, I guess. Put the test pattern board in there. This is, don't know if it's working or not. This is from Scott's board set. Let's hit reset. Do we get anything? Oh, helps if I have a video cable plugged in. Alright, let's try again. See what we get, if anything. Nothing. I'll put in my test board to see if it works. Alright, that's my pattern board, which I thought was working. I don't know if I screwed something up on it, but it says bad data bus AA. And if I look on my board, what the hell is that? Whoops, that's my board. Alright, let me put his board back in. Alright, this is Scott's board right there. That says bad data bus as well. Interesting. Alright, helps if I read the fine print. For proper pattern test, 2 RAM cards must be used. It didn't tell me to put the second RAM card back in, so I put my good RAM cards back in. My known good pattern board. And that way we can see what it looks like. Boom. Looks good. Alright. So mine's fine. That black smoke was when I was testing somebody's RAM board that probably caught on fire, and I need to clean that up. Alright, this is Scott's pattern board. No, we got problems. FF status bad. Bad X wide. Bad feedback something. It's got problems. Alright, moving along here, testing his game board. Obviously, one of these 2 customs has to be working, and we can't test the speech since I don't have any of the audio wired up. But let's see if we get anything. No, it's resetting. Most likely one of these customs is bad. So let me swap them real quick. Or I'll take both of them out, and you only need it in one of these positions. Alright, took X2, put it in X3, and we get something a little bit better, but it's not great, but the game is booting. Oh boy, it's got some problems. Game board is not healthy here. What, are these socketed? Those might have been replaced. Yeah, this game board had some work done on it. These were all socketed there. I'm going to test these customs in my board. Alright, my game board, my board set. And something's wrong with the custom, obviously. It doesn't look, picture, it looks messed up. And it does some weird stuff like that. And if I power it off and power it back on, I get a blank screen. I might try cleaning the legs and seeing if that makes it any better before I start probing around. But if cleaning the legs don't work, I mean, it's either working or it's not. Alright, quick Dremel of the pins, the chip legs there. Oh boy. Is it? Oh, we got... Maybe it's the dip switches are messed up or something. Dip switch 5 is on. That's definitely different. Let's see if it's consistent if I power it off. Oh, there we go. Wow. Dremel the chip legs. That custom seems to be working. Just had to get through some crud. I'll test this one now too. That's a before. I'll do before and after here. I mean, it only took me like a minute to clean those up. That looks much better. Awesome. That's good news. Alright, quick Dremel. That's the after photo there. Did both sides, inside legs, outside legs. And we will put it right in there. Let's power it on. We get nothing. That's bad news. So that one might be just dead. Let's try it again. Oh, there we go. So it's still messed up. Yeah, that must have been the one that was doing that weird stuff. Blank screen. then it comes on for a second. So I think this chip might be bad. I mean, might. It definitely is bad. I would probably replace these sockets. But I'm going to see if Scott wants me to do it or if he wants to do it. Alright, this is Scott's game board with now his known working custom in, what is that, X3. And it looks good. So we're making some progress here. Alright, this is the CPU board, Scott's CPU board with his game board, obviously, and the rest of my board set. Cross your fingers. Bad news. That sucks. We'll try again. Yep. Alright, so we're going to have to swap out customs and test the Z80 and which custom is good or bad on this board set here. As you can see, there's the addresser custom, the data custom, I think that's right. It's been a while since I've worked on these, and then the Z80. So, and it looks like was that replaced? What is that? 74 LS245. Looks like that was replaced. I will put my customs in, or I'll slowly move his customs to my board. That's what I'll do. Okay, my CPU board tested his Z80, good. Tested the address custom, that's good. Now we're going to test the data custom, which without a heatsink, I'm expecting it to be bad. Let's get up here. Oh my God. There we go. Aren't you happy I'm doing that with the camera? Okay. Boom! Legs dremeled, and it appears to be working. Wow, is that lucky. Looks like the customs, is it glitching at all? That's really good news. Need to get a heat sink on that thing. I might have a spare, I'm not sure. We're just going to watch a little bit of the track mode here. Looks good. That was weird. Oh, now it's resetting. Oh boy. It might have been on its last legs. It worked for just a little bit. That's weird. Let me try reseating the chip. Chip reseated. Blank screen. Alright, that's bad news. Let me put my custom back in, which is right there. We'll verify that everything still works. Alright, I put my custom back in, and we still got a blank screen. So what's going on? Maybe his custom is still okay. Something else might have failed. Well, the good news, after a few swaps and making sure, checking the legs and everything, his CPU board works fine. His CPU data custom works fine. Unfortunately, this is my custom addresser. His must have worked for a short period of time, or maybe I tried it in my board. I don't see I could try dremeling the legs again. I don't know what's going on. I mean, it doesn't look great. I might try dremeling one more time, but we'll put this in. Oh, come on. There we go. And it seems to be working. There's a little bit, his data custom honestly might not be great. It's like flickering a little bit, and it shouldn't be doing that. You see how it's like flashing a little bit like that? That's not my camera. So I think there's something a little funky with his data custom as well. Let me put my custom on his, my data custom on his CPU board. Yeah, there's some wackiness going on. See that? Alright, this is my data custom. Yeah, and it looks much better. I'll power cycle real quick. See, there's no like weird flashing going through the GORF. So it's questionable. It's something's going on with it. Alright, one more time on his CPU board. Z80 is good. Data custom, questionable. It works, doesn't prevent it from booting. And then his addresser custom is definitely jacked up. Or maybe if somebody cleans the legs again, you know better. I did a pretty good job though, honestly. But what I want to show you is what it does, the behavior. See, it starts to reset. I turned up the brightness. If I don't have my brightness on, it looks like there's just nothing on the screen. But if I crank my brightness, you'll see star field come up. Then it kind of probably is resetting. So it's trying to boot, but that custom addresser is screwing stuff up. So unfortunately, you're not going to be able to get this board set working without getting some customs replaced. They just came out with a replacement for the data custom data chip, but not the custom addresser. All right, hope you can see this okay. I don't know. Went ahead and started testing some of these RAM chips on the ROM board as well as the ROMs. And I'm going to show you how I did that or some of the results real quick. So with my B&K 866B, which is a B Prog Plus, we're going to go to device, and we're going to select the device. We're going to choose RAM, static RAM, and look for 2114. Hit OK. Let me take this out. Here's the RAM that came out of the system. I'm going to put that in there. And then hit test. It says device insertion test, bad device or poor contact on the ground pin. And the chip legs look good, so unlikely that is a problem. I think all of these RAM are bad because here's another one. I took all of them out and all of them fail. Just put it back, a new one in, hit yes, test bad. working around this camera with very little light. Yep. See, all the RAM, all these 2114 RAM are testing bad for some reason. Now, I'm not going to quite give up on them yet, but I did test. Let me see. See, do I have some spare 2114s somewhere? Yes, I do. All right, so here is some 2114s. This one I had marked as bad, but I don't know. Oh, those are 2148s. Okay, here's a 2114, just to prove that the system is working correctly, my tester. That's fine. So it looks like all of the RAM on that ROM board were bad. Let me come back and test the ROMs and show you how I did that. All right, so I've already tested some of the ROMs, and the legs are pretty corroded. This one, it tested bad. But you can see the legs have that black oxidation. That's because these legs are probably silver plated. And you can clean them with Tarnex, and I will do that for the ones that even tested good, because it hasn't been done. But let's read this one here real quick. And a couple of the legs broke off as I was just messing with them. So these are 9332A, 9332A masked ROMs. And if you come to select our device, select device, and actually I'll do a PROM. There is no 9332. There's no 9332 EEPROM either. .332 gives, what the heck's that? Oh, 933, it says gives 36 more results. Interesting. Let me just look at 930, do all. See, it doesn't have a 9332. So we have to do a 2532. Oh my gosh. And let's choose EEPROM. And we're going to choose a TMS 2532. And the differences on these is pin number 21 needs to be tied low on a 9332, or it just doesn't need to be tied. And I think the programmer probably pulls that pin 21 high, so you can just create an adapter, cut off pin 21 so it's not in the oh, of course this one has a broken leg, so before I gotta fix that. All right, let me come back and fix these broken legs. All right, I got the legs cleaned up via Tarnex. You can see a little bit of the black oxidation, and that's where the legs get really weak. But if you try to wiggle them and stuff, like this one, I soldered on a capacitor leg to get it good. But the nice thing about Tarnex is it really gets all the way up into where the chip connects to the body, chip blade connects to the body. So I do like using Tarnex when it's appropriate. So anyway, we're gonna put it in my, actually let's try to read it as a normal 2532. Then I'll read it with pin 21 floating, and if needed, we'll ground that pin. So we'll just try to read it as a 2532, and hopefully you can see this okay. I'm not sure. That's a programmer, refine programmer. All right, looks like we got it. 2532 in there. And if I do a read, it says it read it. Okay. Buffer view reads it as all F's. That's not good, right? So let's go ahead and I'll pause and come back. All right, I have it in my adapter, pin 21 there cut. We'll read it as a 2532. Device insertion test failure, right? Because pin 21 does not have contact. So what we have to do is we have to go to our chip options, device options. We are going to disable our insertion test there. Then we're going to read it. It read and verified fine. Let's look at the buffer. All right. Let's save that. Was it GORF B? Yes, GORF B. We're going to save it as GORF B. Save. Yes. Then we'll go to ROM ident. Browse. GORF B. Open. Submit. Whoops. Browse. GORF B. Open. Submit. And it comes out as GORF B. So we know this chip is now working, and we can put it into the board, and we can read it as a normal 2532 with just pin 21 floating on the 9332. All right, this was chip E that I read failed. Now I did fix a leg on it, so I don't know if that was part of the problem. That leg looks a little, can you see that? That one right there with the black line on it looks a little weak, and we could put a dab of solder on there to strengthen it, but I think it's okay. So let's read this one. We'll hit read. It didn't verify on itself. So let's look at the buffer. Okay. I can turn off verify, but when it can't verify plus or minus voltage, that's probably not a good thing. So we'll just do verify after reading. No, let's change it to 5% instead of 10%. Let's read it. Still can't verify it. Let's turn off, whoops. Let's turn that off. Device operations. We'll turn off verifying altogether. And then we will read it. Buffer view. Yeah, I see some F's at the beginning. Can I clear the buffer? Let me see how to do that. Buffer. Let me see. Fill buffer with data. Erase buffer. Okay. Now let's read it. Buffer view. Yeah, there's a lot of FFs in there. If I hit save, let's see what chip is this? E. Place that. Back to main page. Browse. E. Open. Submit. Yeah, it doesn't verify as anything. So this chip is likely bad. It can't even verify on itself. So, you know, it's getting that means it's getting random data read every time probably. So we're gonna have to throw that one away. So I have all the ROMs back in, and I tested them all. And this ROM E at X11 that tested bad. I actually had some spare GORF ROMs that I could use, so I stole one of those. So I have a complete version 1 set. This is version 1 of the code, and the way you can tell is the M873 and the indicator of location coming right after that. On version 2, if they're proms, they will be the board, it'll be somewhere else, that E identifier. Regardless, let's put it in. Oh, and I also put all new 2114 RAM in there. 1, 2, 3, 8 new RAM chips, because all the other ones tested bad. Power on. And it works. Now, one thing I've noticed on version 1 boards is, I know it's going to be difficult, but look at the color of the GORF. The reds are not as bright on version 1 of the ROMs. I'm going to put my version 2 ROM board on here. These are version 2 ROMs I burnt. Does it say version 2? Yeah. And you'll notice that the red is brighter or darker, actually. It's more like pink for some reason on version 1. And I've seen it with other version 1 boards. Okay, well that looks pretty... See how... Okay, that's normal. That's a little bit pinker. More pink than red. That looks fine. I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see it on the phone. I'm going to wait for the GORF to come back out. See, right there, that's how it's the most noticeable. That looks like peach. All right, this is my version of board right there. Version 2. And see how much, hopefully you can see it. It's definitely darker red. And the only change is the ROMs. I'm just going to let this go so we can see what the next screen looks like as a comparison. Hopefully it comes out on video. That looks the same, I think. Yeah, see, these are darker here. Darker red there. Yeah, I don't know. There's some difference right there, the GORF guy. That looks the same. All right, because I was second guessing all those RAM chips being bad, I broke out my Neolock tester, and we're going to test the RAM chips on this thing. I retested them all. So that RAM tested okay. I believe all of these are, well, I don't know what that is. That's not where that chip come from. So we got, looks like, hopefully my hand wasn't in the way, I'm not paying attention. So we got 3 that are bad, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean 3 that are good and 5 that are bad. So that shows bad. So let's go back and look at it on the B and K. Alright, so we're going to put in our chip here. I don't know which. I brought 2 examples over. That one there. We're going to go to device operations. Then we're going to enable our insertion test. And then we're going to hit. Let me turn off that light. We're going to hit test. Alright, it says device insertion test failed right there, right? So let's go device disable the insertion test, and then we'll hit test again. Now it says verifying RAM with buffer error. Okay, so it couldn't do that one. That one's bad. Now I put in the other chip. Oh, come on, one of these is good, I'm pretty sure. Well, it helps if I put it in the right way. I might have just screwed that up. had it in the wrong way. Alright, test failed. Test succeeded. Oh my god, I can't talk. Alright, so anyway, for some reason the B&K did not like this manufacturer here, GTE 2114. It wouldn't pass the insertion test, but it did. The Neolock probably doesn't do an insertion test. So for whatever reason, like, it didn't like how this ground was reading, but there's 3 of these that are good. This one's good. Alright, I put back in the 3 GTE ones there that are known good. So 5 of them are bad. Let's see here. Power on. And we're good. So that was interesting. So the Neolock, the B&K showed all of them failed device insertion test. I don't know what that means. It just might not like this particular chip and how the ground pin reads in it from a spec standpoint. I don't know. It was an NTE device, and so they might have a different like resistance to ground or something. I don't know. Who knows? Or they could be failing for all I know. I don't know. But they're working. So I'll leave them in. Yeah, it's weird how that's red, but these are pink or peach. Interesting. All right, we're going to recap and finish up this video with symptoms of the current state. So one of the data IO customs bad. I put it in X2 position. It shouldn't have an impact, but I have seen this have an impact. So it doesn't hurt to take out X2 just to see, just to ensure it's not messing it up, or swap them, etc. Then I have his pattern board, Scott's pattern board, or Scott's friend's pattern board that does not work. We know it doesn't work. We have the CPU board, which has bad addresser, questionable data custom. I don't think it's working right. It's like flaking. It causes resets or something. I don't know. It's not 100%. We got damn bad RAM board. One somewhat working RAM board, I believe, right there with the check mark. So let's power on. Make sure I got all my boards in. This is his cage, by the way. And basically you can see you get something on the system, like if I turn the brightness up, but it's just resetting. So let's take out the custom board, and I'll put my working CPU board in. Alright, my working CPU board. Whoops. Like that. And that's what we get. That looks like a pattern board issue to me, so we'll take out the pattern board and put in a known working pattern board. Alright, as you can see, my working pattern board there. And we get, the game is playing, but a lot of horizontal lines, which I believe is the RAM boards. So let's take out this known bad RAM board and replace it. That's what it looks like right there. Alright, my good RAM board. Better, but we still have some lines, some horizontal lines going on. And I believe it's because something else is wrong with this RAM board that I did check out okay. So let's replace this other RAM board and see if those lines go away. Alright, my working RAM board, both of my working RAM boards. And it's looks good, no lines. So what happened to this one? I'm gonna break out my tester one more time to see if another RAM failed, because I replaced this 4027 right here. Maybe something else is going on with it. So we'll check it again. But that's really the symptoms. Alright, good RAM board, good CPU board, my test cards, test stuff in there. Let's go ahead and power it up. And I get a blank screen. Alright, let me figure out what to do. Do I have to hit reset? There we go, I hit reset. Shows that there's no RAM issues on this board, which is weird. Let's slide it to position 2 right there, hit reset, and we have a good rainbow pattern. So something, I'm not sure what's going on with that RAM card. It shows it tests fine. Interesting. Alright, clean the card edge on that questionable RAM card, put it back in. See, get some weird lines. Will it clear up? And it just cleared up. I bet some of those sockets might be a little flaky. Those RAM sockets. But it does seem to be working fine. So, just needs a pattern board, one custom data I/O, 2 customs on the CPU board, which is unfortunate, and a bunch of RAM on this other RAM card. So, I say just that. Those customs are at least $100 to $150 a piece when you can find them. Alright, that's part 1. I'll find out what the Scott wants to do, so and then we'll come back with part 2 if I fix any of the stuff. Fix more of it.